My name is Adriana G. Collier. I was 28 years old when the man I planned to marry looked at the ring box in my hand and whispered, "God, please don't. You're embarrassing both of us." I did not leave Ethan because he had slept with someone else. As far as I knew, he had not crossed that final line. I left because one sentence revealed that the 4 years I considered a foundation were only a waiting room to him. At the time, I worked as a marketing manager for a mid-sized company in the city. The job was stable, well paid, and predictable. Ethan used to say, that was why we worked. He was a yoga instructor who believed in energy, spontaneity, and surrendering to the universe. I managed calendars, budgets, and long-term plans. I thought we balanced each other. We met through mutual friends at a backyard barbecue. He was vibrant, charming, and impossible to ignore. During our first conversation, he told me that life was too short to spend it afraid. I admired that freedom. For 4 years, I helped him build the life he wanted. I paid more of the rent whenever his classes were slow. I helped cover his certification course and used vacation days to drive him to retreats. Once, while he packed for a week-long yoga immersion in the mountains, I sat at our kitchen table reviewing bills. "This is going to change everything," he said, his eyes bright. I handed him my credit card for gas. "I hope it does." That was who I was. I made the foundation solid so Ethan could chase his dreams without looking down. By our 4th year, we had discussed marriage, children, and growing old together. "I can't imagine my life without you," he once whispered late at night. I believed him. So I began planning the proposal. I reserved a corner table at our favorite Italian restaurant, arranged for the staff to play his favorite song, and ordered the tiramisu he always praised. The ring was simple, an elegant white gold band with a single diamond. I had taken freelance projects for months to afford it without touching our shared savings. The night arrived. Ethan wore a linen shirt I loved, his dark hair falling carelessly across his forehead. "You look handsome," I told him. He smiled. "I know." During dinner, he talked about a new woman named Jade who had joined his advanced yoga sessions. "She has incredible energy," he said. "Very intuitive. Recently divorced, but completely fearless." I barely reacted. People moved through Ethan's classes constantly. When dessert arrived, my heart began pounding. I reached beneath the table for the ring box. Ethan saw the outline inside my purse. His face changed instantly. Not surprise, not joy, panic. He grabbed my wrist and leaned across the table. "God, please don't," he whispered. "You're embarrassing both of us." I froze. "What?" He glanced around the restaurant. "Put it away. Everyone can see." My fingers tightened around the velvet box. I thought this was what we wanted. "We're not that, Adriana." The jazz music became distant noise. I slid the ring back into my purse. The waiter placed the tiramisu between us. Neither of us touched it. During the drive home, Ethan stared out the window while the radio filled the silence. The moment we entered the apartment, I set down my keys. "What did you mean by, 'we're not that'?" He dropped onto the sofa and sighed. "Things have changed." "Since when?" "I've felt trapped lately." "Trapped by what?" "Routine. Plans. Everything with you is so safe." The word sounded like an accusation. "You told me you wanted marriage." "I did then." "And now?" He looked away. "Jade and I have been exploring something." My stomach tightened. "What does that mean?" "Nothing physical." "Yet." He frowned. "She understands me. We talk after class. We get coffee. She challenges me spiritually." "How long?" "A couple of months." I thought about every late class, every canceled dinner, and every evening Ethan said he needed time to decompress. "You were building a relationship with another woman while I was planning our future." "It just happened." "No, you allowed it." He crossed his arms. "Jade makes me feel alive. You're stable and dependable, but sometimes that feels limiting." The sentence should have broken me. Instead, it made everything painfully clear. I nodded once. "Then we're done." His eyebrows lifted. "Just like that?" "You already chose." You're not even going to fight for us? Why would I fight for a man who thinks marrying me would embarrass him? That night, Ethan slept on the sofa. By morning, he was packing. He accused me of being cold and claimed Jade offered the passion I lacked. Before leaving, he paused at the door. We can still be friends. No. His expression hardened. You'll regret letting me go. I looked at the ring box on the counter. No, Ethan. I'll regret that I almost asked you to stay forever. After the door closed, I returned the ring, changed the locks, blocked his number, and removed him from every part of my life. I thought that was the end. I had no idea that 6 months later, Ethan would appear at my engagement party crying because I had found someone who never asked me to hide the ring. The first week after Ethan left passed in a blur of practical decisions and private grief. I returned the ring the same afternoon. The jeweler recognized me and smiled at first, probably expecting to resize it or discuss insurance. When I placed the unopened box on the counter and asked for a refund, his expression softened. Are you sure? Yes. My voice did not shake until I reached the parking garage. I sat behind the steering wheel and stared at the receipt while tears finally came. Not because I wanted Ethan back, because I had spent months preparing to ask someone to choose me forever, only to discover he had already chosen someone else in fragments. Coffee after class, private conversations, late sessions, and every secret moment he dismissed as harmless. I deposited the refund into savings. Then I changed the locks. Practical choices were easier than emotional ones. For the first few nights, the apartment felt impossibly large. I still expected Ethan's keys to scrape against the door after his evening class. I caught myself making enough coffee for two and turning toward the sofa whenever I heard a notification. The silence was painful, but it was honest. I told only a few close friends what had happened. Most had already heard Ethan's version. According to him, we had simply grown apart. He claimed the proposal proved I had ignored obvious signs that he was unhappy. One mutual friend sent me a cautious message. Ethan says you tried to pressure him into marriage. I read it several times before replying. He had been discussing marriage with me for years. I did not pressure him. I believed him. I offered no further explanation. I refused to compete with his story. At work, I buried myself in deadlines. A major campaign had been stalled for months because no one could agree on its direction. I volunteered to rebuild the strategy and spent long evenings creating a stronger pitch. My director approved it immediately. 2 months later, the campaign exceeded every projection and earned me a raise. For years, Ethan had described my discipline as predictability. At work, it was called leadership. The difference mattered. I also began therapy. During the first session, I told the counselor I felt foolish for missing the signs. She shook her head. Trusting someone who repeatedly promises you a future does not make you foolish. I funded his training. I changed my life around his schedule. You invested in the relationship you believed you had. The words helped, but healing remained slow. I started reclaiming things I had quietly abandoned. I rejoined old friends for trivia nights. I returned to weekend hiking. I enrolled in a photography course I had postponed twice because Ethan always needed help with workshops. The first morning I photographed the city at sunrise. I stood on a bridge with cold air against my face and felt something inside me open. The world had continued existing beyond our relationship. I simply had not been looking. 3 months after the breakup, a colleague invited me to a work gathering. That was where I met Daniel. He worked in graphic design and had a dry sense of humor that made me laugh without trying. We talked about architecture, travel, and the strange pressure people place on themselves to appear spontaneous online. When he asked about my work, he listened. Actually, listened. He did not call my planning boring. He called it thoughtful. Coffee became dinner. Dinner became weekend walks and long conversations that never felt like performances. Daniel did not overwhelm me with dramatic declarations. He was consistent. He arrived when he said he would. He remembered small details. He treated stability as something valuable rather than shameful. I moved carefully. He respected that. Meanwhile, Ethan and Jade finally became a couple. I heard about it through mutual friends, though I never searched for updates. At first, they seemed exactly as Ethan imagined: spontaneous road trips, yoga retreats, photographs about freedom, connection, and twin flames. Then, 4 months after our breakup, everything collapsed. Jade had never considered the relationship serious. She enjoyed the attention and companionship, but Ethan expected commitment. When he began discussing moving in together, she pulled away. A friend told me Jade had started seeing another man from the studio, someone younger who taught breathwork classes. Ethan confronted her. She responded with the same language he once used on me. We were just flowing. According to the story, she told him their connection had never been about ownership or traditional expectations. Ethan did not accept that calmly. He appeared at the studio during one of her classes and demanded an explanation in front of students. Jade asked him to leave. He raised his voice. The manager removed him. The public humiliation continued at a local wellness fair several days later. Ethan cornered Jade near a vendor booth and accused her of using him. She shrugged and said, "You knew I wasn't looking for anything serious." Then she walked away. Witnesses saw Ethan break down beside a row of meditation cushions, while strangers pretended not to stare. His classes began losing students. He canceled sessions without warning. Money became a problem because he had stopped taking side work while building his new life around Jade. Soon, he was staying with a friend. I heard everything secondhand over coffee with a mutual acquaintance. "She really destroyed him," the friend said. "No," I replied quietly. "She gave him the same uncertainty he gave me." I felt no satisfaction, only distance. By the 5th month, Daniel and I had become serious. He met my family. My mother hugged me afterward and whispered, "He looks at you when you speak." I knew exactly what she meant. Daniel and I took a short road trip through the mountains. At every overlook, he reacted with uncomplicated joy. No complaint that the hotel was not luxurious enough. No need to turn every moment into proof of a superior lifestyle. One evening, he stood beside me beneath a sky streaked with orange and said, "Being with you feels peaceful." For years, Ethan had treated peace like a synonym for boredom. Daniel understood it was trust without fear. That was when I began imagining marriage again. Not because I needed to replace what I had lost, because this relationship had grown from honesty rather than fantasy. Around the same time, Ethan's first message arrived from an unfamiliar number. "Hey, it's me. Can we talk?" I deleted it. A week later, another appeared. "Jade was a mistake. I understand everything now. Please meet me for coffee." I blocked the number. Then the voicemails began. He said he had been confused. He said I was always his foundation. He said losing Jade made him understand what real love looked like. But I heard the truth beneath every apology. Ethan was not reaching for me because he finally valued me. He was reaching for the stability that remained after his exciting new life collapsed. And I had no intention of becoming his foundation again. Ethan's attempts did not stop with blocked numbers. They multiplied. First came another text from a borrowed phone. "Adriana, please. I made a mistake. Jade was never real. You were." I deleted it. Then came an email with the subject line, "4 years deserve one conversation." I archived it without opening the attachment. A few days later, my office receptionist called. "There's a man downstairs asking for you." My stomach tightened. Did he give a name? "Ethan." I closed my eyes. "Tell him I'm unavailable and ask security to escort him out if he refuses to leave." 5 minutes later, my phone buzzed. "Why are you being so cold?" "I only want closure." Closure. The word almost made me laugh. He had received closure at the Italian restaurant when he told me my love embarrassed him. He simply did not like the ending he had chosen. When direct contact failed, he began sending other people. Mia, his closest friend, called one evening. "Adriana, I know you're hurt, but Ethan is falling apart." "That is not my responsibility. Jade manipulated him. He made choices. He regrets them. Regret is not repair." Mia sighed sharply. "You were together for 4 years. Don't you have any compassion?" I had compassion for 4 years. He used it to finance his life while building an emotional relationship with another woman. She went silent. Then she tried a different angle. You're seeing someone else already, aren't you? That is none of your business. I ended the call. His older sister left a voicemail next. She accused me of acting superior and claimed I had driven Ethan away by making life too structured. You knew he needed adventure, she said. Now he's suffering, and you won't even meet him. That says more about you than him. I deleted it. His mother emailed me 2 days later, inviting me to dinner so everyone could talk calmly. I replied once. Respectfully, I will not be reconciling with Ethan. Please do not contact me again. That should have ended it. It did not. The tone of Ethan's messages began changing. At first, he sounded apologetic, then desperate, then jealous. I see the photos of you and Daniel. You moved on quickly. Another message followed. Did those 4 years mean nothing? Then, I guess I was right. You only loved the idea of controlling me. The apologies vanished the moment I refused to reward them. His entitlement returned. One late-night voicemail captured the truth more clearly than any confession could have. You embarrassed me with that proposal, and now you're flaunting this new life like I never mattered. You're a hypocrite. I listened once. Then I saved it. Not because I planned to use it. Because whenever a small part of me wondered whether Ethan had truly changed, I wanted proof that he had not. Daniel knew about the attempts. I told him early because secrets had already poisoned one relationship, and I refused to allow them into another. He listened calmly. Do you want me to step in? No. Then I won't. There was no performance. No demand to prove himself stronger than Ethan. He trusted me to manage my own boundaries. That trust made me feel safer than any dramatic declaration ever could. One evening, Daniel and I shared wine on my balcony. My phone lit up with another unknown number. He glanced toward it. Block and delete? I smiled. Block and delete. By then, the power had shifted completely. Ethan once believed I would always wait for him. Now he was chasing access to a life that no longer included him. But my focus was not revenge. It was Daniel. It was work. It was the version of myself I had slowly reclaimed. 6 months after the restaurant, Daniel suggested a picnic in the park where we had shared our first kiss. I suspected nothing. He packed sandwiches, fruit, and a bottle of sparkling water. The afternoon was quiet, the trees beginning to turn gold. We sat beneath an old oak tree talking about ordinary things. A difficult client, a trip we wanted to take, whether we would ever adopt a dog. Then Daniel became quiet. He reached into his jacket. For 1 second, my body remembered the Italian restaurant, the hidden box, Ethan's panic, the shame. My chest tightened. Daniel noticed. Are you okay? I looked at him. He was nervous, but there was no dread in his face. No embarrassment. Only hope. He opened the box. Inside was an emerald-cut diamond on a simple band. Adriana, he said, his voice unsteady. You make my life feel bigger without making it chaotic. I don't want a version of the future that doesn't include you. Tears blurred my vision. Will you marry me? There was no audience. No waiter waiting with dessert. No need for a perfect moment. Only a man who wanted exactly what I wanted. Yes. Daniel exhaled as though he had been holding his breath for years. Yes? Yes. 1,000 times. I wrapped my arms around him. For the first time, a ring box did not feel like a weapon. It felt like home. 2 weeks later, we planned a casual engagement party in a friend's backyard. String lights, barbecue, music. A small group of people who had supported us without demanding anything in return. We kept the guest list private. Still, word reached Ethan. The morning of the party, I received an email from him. Engaged already? After everything we had? I deleted it. That evening, Daniel and I stood beneath the string lights greeting guests. I felt calm, certain. Then the side gate opened. Ethan walked into the yard without an invitation. His hair was disheveled. His smile looked forced. A wine glass trembled in his hand as he scanned the crowd and found me. He began walking directly toward us. The moment I had avoided for 6 months had finally arrived. But this time, I was not holding a ring he could shame me for. I was wearing one given by someone who had never been embarrassed to choose me. Ethan crossed the backyard as though the party belonged to him. Several conversations faded when guests noticed the uninvited man moving through the string lights with a wine glass clutched too tightly in one hand. Daniel followed my gaze. Is that him? Yes. Do you want me to ask him to leave? I touched Daniel's arm. Not yet. Ethan stopped in front of us. Up close, he looked worse than he had in the photographs mutual friends occasionally sent me. His eyes were tired. His confidence had been reconstructed badly, like a cracked mirror held together with tape. Adriana, he said, we need to talk. This is my engagement party. I know. His gaze dropped to the ring on my hand. Something twisted across his face. Already? Daniel remained beside me, calm and silent, and Ethan looked at him. So, you're Daniel. Daniel extended no hand. I am. Ethan laughed bitterly. This is unbelievable. What is? I asked. You're engaged 6 months after throwing away 4 years with me. A few guests shifted closer, pretending not to listen. You ended those 4 years before I ever reached for the ring. That isn't fair. You told me marrying me would embarrass you. I was confused. You were certain enough to pursue Jade for months. His jaw tightened. Jade was a mistake. No, Jade was your choice. He took a step toward me. She manipulated me. She made me believe we had something real. You made me believe the same thing for 4 years. His face faltered. For one brief moment, I saw genuine shame. Then desperation rushed in to replace it. I know I hurt you, he said, but I understand now. You were the one. You always were. Daniel glanced at me, but he did not interfere. That was one of the reasons I loved him. He did not confuse protecting me with speaking for me. Ethan continued. I miss our apartment. I miss waking up next to you. I miss how you knew what I needed before I said it. The words revealed more than he intended. He missed the home, the routine, the woman who anticipated his needs. He never said he missed understanding mine. I can change, he insisted. I'll stop chasing excitement. I'll be the man you wanted. I no longer want to build a life around someone's potential. His eyes filled. Please don't do this. Do what? Marry him just to punish me. Daniel's expression hardened, but I squeezed his hand. This has nothing to do with punishing you. It has everything to do with me. No, Ethan, that is the problem. You still believe every decision in my life is a reaction to you. He glanced around at the watching guests. The audience embarrassed him. I recognized the same panic from the restaurant. You're humiliating me, he whispered. The words almost felt scripted by fate. I looked directly at him. God, please don't. His eyes widened. You're embarrassing both of us. Color drained from his face. Daniel looked at me quietly, understanding that these were not random words. They belonged to an old wound. Ethan swallowed. That's cruel. No. Cruel was saying it while I held a ring I had saved months to buy. I didn't know what I wanted. And now you do, because Jade discarded you. That's not why I came. Then why did every apology begin only after she left? He opened his mouth. Nothing came out. I continued. You wanted freedom when I offered commitment. You wanted stability when freedom stopped feeling exciting. Tears slipped down his face. I love you. You love what I gave you. That's not true. Then tell me one thing you miss about me that did not make your life easier. His silence spread through the yard. A few guests looked away. Ethan stared at the ground. I felt no triumph, only certainty. Daniel stepped slightly closer, his hand warm around mine. Ethan finally looked at him. You think you won? Daniel answered calmly. This was never a competition. That sentence seemed to break whatever remained of Ethan's performance. He looked back at me. Adriana, please, give me one more chance. I lifted my left hand, allowing the ring to catch the light. Remember what you said when you saw the last ring? His face crumpled. We're not that. I shook my head. You were right. He stared at me. We are not that. Then I looked at Daniel. I'm with someone who never treated my love like an embarrassment. Ethan's breathing became uneven. You can't erase 4 years. I don't need to erase them. I learned from them. His expression turned bitter. So that's it? Yes. You don't care what happens to me? Your life is no longer my responsibility. For years, I had supported his dreams, softened his failures, and carried the weight of his uncertainty. Now, standing beneath the string lights, I finally handed that responsibility back. Ethan looked around as though waiting for someone to defend him. No one moved. He placed the wine glass on a nearby table with a shaking hand. Then he turned and walked toward the gate. His shoulders began trembling before he reached it. The moment the latch clicked behind him, conversation slowly returned. Daniel looked at me. You okay? I took a deep breath. Yes. And for the first time, I meant it without hesitation. The party continued. We ate barbecue beneath the lights. Friends toasted our future. Daniel's mother cried when she hugged me. No one treated the ring as a threat. No one asked me to hide my happiness. Months later, Daniel and I married in a small ceremony surrounded by people who genuinely wanted to witness our commitment. Ethan made no further attempts to contact me. I heard that he eventually left the yoga studio and moved to another city. I hoped he found whatever he had been searching for, but I no longer needed to know. The most important thing was not that Ethan regretted losing me. It was that I stopped measuring my worth through his regret. For a long time, I believed loyalty meant staying until someone finally recognized what I had given. Now I knew better. Loyalty without reciprocity becomes self-erasure. Love should never make a sincere promise feel humiliating. Daniel never called my stability boring. He called it dependable. He never treated planning as control. He called it care. And when I offered him forever, he did not look around the room in panic. He looked directly at me and said yes. The first ring taught me what rejection felt like. The second taught me what being chosen felt like. I no longer carried shame from that Italian restaurant. Ethan had not embarrassed me. He had revealed himself before I made the greatest mistake of my life. 6 months later, when he stood crying at my engagement party, I finally understood the truth. I had not lost the future I wanted. I had been rescued from building it with the wrong man.